Greetings, Clobbers. Clobbers, I am so sorry for the tardiness of this video, but welcome anyway to Clobby'S Comics Corner Spinner Rack Time Machine, December, week 3, 1971. For those unfamiliar with what a Clobby'S Comics Corner Spinner Rack Time Machine is, I know it's a mouthful. Basically, and there's a link in my description below to my playlist for all of these videos. What I do is I take my Spinner Rack Time Machine, which is a TARDIS, conveniently shaped in the form of a early 1970s Bronze Age, good old spinner rack where the comics were cheap and the comics were fun and the comics were great. And I take my little time machine comic shop and I pretend to be a customer of that comic shop at the same time, and I go in every week, as many of you may still do. I used to do, and many of you used to do. Just depends if you have a pull list. And I pull, in this case, about 10 of the the plethora of available comic books from the racks from my little pull list, and I just show you a few of those for a little quick video where I talk a bit. Not in depth or deep dive or anything about the issues, but a little bit about the new comics or a handful of the new comics that came out that week. And then I do a follow-up video the next day that's a little bit shorter, where it's just a quick bits, as I call it, where I go show you some of the ones that I didn't pick out, the ones that didn't quite make the cut. I am mostly a big superhero type geek, so there are plenty of other genres of comics, and you can't grab them all. Actually, they were cheap enough. You could have if you had the money back then, but we were kids. So I picked 1971 for those curious, because I figure 50 years is a nice round number, and that's my era, the Bronze Age. I love it. So without further ado, I shall introduce to you the comics that I picked this month, this week, this year, December week 3, 1971, from Clobby'S Comics Corner. First up, Boris Karloff, Golgi Comics, Boris Karloff number 39. Yeah, you gotta love those Golgi covers. I didn't appreciate them near as much back then as I do now. I love them. This one's for you, my wonderful first officer, R.M. Raquel Briggs, because I know you like these cool covers. And of course, who doesn't love, I was working in the lab late one night, the great Boris Karloff. Oh, I'm sorry, it's not Halloween, it's Christmas. Maybe I should. When you think Karloff, you should think the Grinch, right? Yeah, anyway. Boris Karloff, number 39. Stories by Len Wein. Yes, that Len Wein. Didn't realize he did so much work for Golgi until I started doing my research for this little video series. Len Wein and various other writers. It's very difficult to do research on Golgi comics. There's not a lot of info as there are for Marvel or DC. As you go, or in, that's true of most of the other publishers, it seems, when it comes to research. Art by various individuals: John Salardo, Joe Cerda, Win Mortimer, Jack Sparling, Giorgio Cambiati, I believe, and cover, again, fairly sure, because he did so prolific, the great George Wilson for that painted cover on Boris Karloff number 39. Next up, we have Superman number 248. First story, Len Wein, and art by my favorite Superman art team of all time, Kurt Swan and Murphy Anderson, known as the Swanderson team. Second story, Marv Wolfman. Wein and Wolfman, two best buddies working, on the same title there, with stories in the same comic there. The big 52-page spectacular. Remember those big? It was priced a little bit more because you got more pages out of some of these. They like to put reprints and stuff, but the second story is not a reprint. It's Marv Wolfman and the great Dave Cockrum as well. And then you have a nifty little reprint in the back there by Mr. Edmund Hamilton and Kurt Swan and George Klein, with a cover by the Swanderson team. Can't beat it. My Superman era. Interesting thing here, Creatures on the Loose, number 16. What's interesting to this one, for me, on this one is, it's, of course, they used to adapt different types of stories, sometimes from novels and fantasy novels and science fiction novels in some of their Marvel titles at this point. This one adapts. It adapts the old story from Gulliver of Mars, which anyone who is a fan of John Carter of Mars, um, you know, thinks of John Carter being, and of course, I love Edgar Rice Burroughs' John Carter of Mars, but a lot of people don't realize that even, it's funny how so many things source and so many things kind of, you hate to use the word rip, but emulate, Edgar Rice Burroughs' John Carter, Warlord of Mars, or, well, Marvel called their book Warlord of Mars. It's just John Carter, Princess of Mars, that sort of thing. But actually, it was kind of a derivative of an earlier story, an earlier book by a gentleman, called Warriors of Mars, Gulliver of Mars, whatever it was. I think it was called Gulliver of Mars by a gentleman by the name of Edmund Errol Arnold. And when I learned that way back, I don't know how long ago it was now, I went, oh God, I had to be pretty young. I think I went and looked for the book. But anyway, it's just fascinating to me that for the longest time, rightly so, John Carter books are heralded as wonderful works of fantasy by Edgar Rice Burroughs, and I still hold them in high esteem. But there was an Earthman adventuring on Mars in literary terms a good bit before, at least maybe a couple of decades or a decade and a half, whatever it was, before John Carter did it, and he was Gulliver Jones, I believe his name was, if I remember correctly. But anyway, yes, Gulliver Jones is right. This that story is adapted by Roy Thomas, Gil Kane, and the great Gil Kane and the great Bill Everett, all members of the Clobby'S Times Mark C. Comics Creator Hall of Fame, by the way. There's a reprint story in there from Strange Tales 96, Larry Lieber, Jack Kirby, Dick Ayers. Another reprint story from Tales of to Astonish number 33, I believe, by Kirby and Ayers also. And this one sports a nifty Gil Kane cover. Some memories here on this one. Fantastic Four, number 120, story, Stan Lee, ? John Buscema and the great John Buscema and the great Joe Sinnott on the inks. So story, pencil and inks, Buscema, Sinnott. Memories for this one, because I remember getting this one, but I think I got it in a big reprint, Treasury edition. Initially, it's another Galactus saga. I think this one introduces, as you can see, Gabriel the Airwalker as his herald. Covered by John Buscema and Frank Giosha. So classic FF stuff right there. Marvel Spotlight number 3 on, of course, Spotlight on Werewolf by Night. Yes. Jerry Conway on the story, but man, the art. The great Mike Plug. God, I love his stuff. Plug cover right there, and with a Plug interior, which was, again, he didn't do a gigantic body of work for comics, but what he did was just outstanding, and he was a great artist of the early 70s for Marvel. Great artist today, still out there doing stuff. Just not comics, I don't think, but I mean, I see his Facebook page fairly active all the time. So Mike Plug, certainly what a great monster artist. I think he went into Hollywood, did storyboard work, things like that later. But yeah, oh man, I love his Frankenstein for Marvel, his Monster of Frankenstein title, later retitled Frankenstein's Monster. But that was great stuff. The issues he did of that, the early issues he did, and he's done Ghost Rider, of course, but he hasn't done it, like I say, a lot. But man, what he did, Mike Plug was amazing. Time for a first. Hey, in a weekend where a new Spider-Man movie's opening, no spoilers yet, we have a first for Spidey. As you know, Spider-Man at this point, he had the Amazing Spider-Man title. And, of course, they were reprinting some of his adventures in Marvel Tales and such. But this is his first, breakout, new, extra title. As far as a regular title is concerned with new adventures. And this one, of course, is akin to, and I've done a show about this recently, a whole stream about the team up books, including this one. Marvel Team Up #1 premieres this week. And at first, it wasn't Spidey's title, solely. That came later. Originally, of course, as you know, he not only teams up with the wonderful Johnny Storm, the Human Torch, in this one. This became sort of a shared book for a while. There'll be Spidey having an adventure with another superhero. And then the Human Torch, for a while, shared the book with him. Once in a while, they traded off, and the Human Torch would team up with a different superhero. Then eventually, it just became Spidey's title. So at first, this wasn't Spidey's book of his own, where he was the main star. He, like I said, he revolved with Johnny Storm, but eventually he took it over. It became one of the many Spidey titles. So this is #1, of course, by the great Roy Thomas, Art Ross Andrew, and Mike Esposito, with another nifty Gil Kane Vecchiosia cover. King alert, King alert, King alert, Jack Kirby, King alert. New Gods #7. Jack Kirby in the early days of building his fourth world saga for DC. And when, of course, it goes without saying that almost everything in this book is Kirby, because it's all Kirby all the time, although there's some stories, there were some reprints that he did with Joe Simon, and you cannot discount the wonderful work that Mike Royer did as inker, both the interior and the cover. And as I said, there's some reprints in there as well. It's a big 52-pager. So you get some new Kirby and some old Kirby. And this one, you can't beat that. Let's see here. Sergeant Fury and his commandos that howl. Or Andis Howling Commandos. However you want to say it. #96. Story art, Gary Friedrich. Story, Gary Friedrich. Art, Dick Ayers and Jim Mooney. And, of course, God, some of these, man, love me Gil Kane covers always. And these war covers and Western covers that sport Gil Kane covers inked by the great, John Severin. What a combo, huh? Great cover. Just love me these Bronze Age covers, the way they're set up. I really do, by Marvel. King alert, King alert. Here we go again with some more great Jack Kirby work, fourth world building stuff. Superman's pal Jimmy Olsen, or I should say Superman's pal, the new Jimmy Olsen, as the title does, 146. There again, it's all pure Kirby for the most part, even with a few Simon and Kirby Golden Age reprints sprinkled in. And again, same as before, with some great work by Mike Royer and a little bit of work by Murphy Anderson on the cover. I think that was because they used to replace Superman's head, take Kirby's head off of it, and put a Murphy Anderson head on the cover. Yes, DC didn't want Kirby drawing Superman's head for some stupid reason back then, and so they would have the head redrawn or replaced by Murphy Anderson or probably a few other guys, maybe, I don't know, Kurt Swan or Al Placino, Kurt Schaffenberger or somebody like that, a few others maybe. But it was really stupid. It must be Orange Cover Week. I don't know. The Two Gun Kid. Again, sporting that fancy Kane and Severin cover. What a combo. Two of the greatest artists ever. What an amazing cover. I just love these covers. I love the square box middle with all the, with the art in the middle in that square box. And then you got the business top and bottom. Something cool about that. I don't know what it is. You even got a little Kirby figure up in the top in the corner box thingy. Two Gun Kid 103, Ogden Whitney and Stanley on the stories, allegedly, and art, Ogden Whitney, Jack Kirby, Dick Ayers, Don Heck. My guess, it's a lot of reprints. It was difficult to find some of the info on that. Sometimes it's a little tough to track down. I think it was all reprints from old Western comics. But don't quote me on that. I mean, you could tell if you have, I don't have the book in my hand, so, see what I'm saying. And then finally today, Vampirella. You know, I just included Vampirella because when I was a kid, I would, and I would pick this thing up off the when we would go to the drugstore or something with my mom or whatever. You weren't bringing this home when you were my age. I was 7 years old when this came out. How I was into superheroes anyway, but I always picked up. Look, you were a red-blooded American boy. You picked up Vampirella, whether you could buy it or not. When your mom wasn't looking and you were at the magazine rack, um, you know, looking at the Warren magazines, creepy and eerie and all that stuff. Uh, and then you see Vampy. Look, you're picking it up and you're flipping it. Hey, and I did that. I did that whenever I saw it on the rack. I'm not saying it was this issue particular, but now, of course, I'm not seven. I'm traveling back through time, and what the hell? What the hell? Let's pick up a Vampy issue because, good God, why not? You got to love Vampy. Multiple stories in the mag. These Warren magazines were fun to look at least. Archie Goodwin, Nebot, Gus San Anthony, Don Glut, remember that name? Pat Boyett, Nick Putier, Art Jose Gonzalez, Nebot, Esteban Morado, Bill Dubois, Pat Boyett, Felix Moss, and a San Julian cover. All make up for some naughty fun for a Vampirella cover. So, and there we have it for Clobby'S Comics Going to Spin a Ragtime Machine, December 1971, week 3, my good friends. Some firsts, some good stuff. And of course, what can I say? There were a lot of other titles that week. And in my next video, I'll give you a little bit of a rundown of some of the other comics that were available. And I'm going to release both videos on the same day, but usually they're multiple days. Sorry this one was late, my friends. Thank you so much for those of you who hung out with me for this video live or for you who watched it later. I really, really appreciate it. And as always, shout out to my wonderful first officer, the extraordinary R.M. Briggs, for making this wonderful outro video for me. Please look at my description below for all the wonderful info you need on the website, Mike's Amazing Blog, a playlist to my Spinnerack Time Machine vids, and others. And I will see you on the next video and then the live streams. Clobber on, clobbers.